Do intentions matter, or is it all a matter of just doing what you're meant to do, even if you don't have the right intentions? This is a very big discussion. And sometimes, for example, if you drop $5 out of your pocket unintendedly and a poor person finds it and buys a meal with it, your act, which was done completely unintentionally, which means you did not have in mind to help this person was still helped in the fullest manner that they needed, which was they needed food. That's the bottom line. However, in that case, intention does not play any significant role. It's the action that plays a significant role, even though the entire action was unintended, right? And very often when we do things, it's the action that is most important. However, it is very important to know that sometimes, many times, our intention is critical in what we do, because when we do certain things, many things, without the right intention, we actually damage what we are doing. For example, we all know that if you're going to be critical of someone because there's an issue and you need to point something out to them, your intention in pointing that out to them will be a key factor in whether you're pointing it out to them will have any bear any fruit, will be effective and productive or not. If it's coming from your own ego that you are showing yourself to be more superior, you have some enjoyment in putting this person down or whatever it may be, which is very, very common, then that person senses it, even if they can't articulate it, they sense it subtly and they cannot receive it. All they hear is criticism. But if it's out of love and care for them and is genuinely out of love and care for them, that is most likely what they will feel, and they will receive it because they're not threatened by it. It's not an ego war. And there, it makes all the difference. This is something that's very important for us to know. This is more widespread than just these interactions between one person and another with criticism. And we have a very interesting teaching where Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, the third of our patriarchs, he's the one who gave birth to the 12 tribes of the Jewish people, and he's on his deathbed in this week's Torah portion, and he gives blessings to all of them. However, the first three he doesn't simply bless; he actually reprimands. And when it comes to Shimon and Levi, sons 2 and 3, he bundles them together and he says, "You are partners in crime. Your tools are tools which have been stolen." And he's basically indicating that the Shimon and Levi stole tools from his brother, from Yaakov's brother, from their uncle, Esau. What was Esau's tools? Esau was a brutal man. He was a murderer. His tool was the sword. And he said, that is your sword. That is your tool. And then he makes a reference to the fact that Shimon and Levi wiped out an entire city called Shechem. You may remember that story when Shechem took Dinah, their sister, and violated her. The two brothers came and said it's a violation of the 7 Noahide laws, and you are actually called, you and the entire town, because there's no justice system which is obligated according to the 7 Noahide laws to have a justice system. So they are all obligated to be put to death, and they put them to death. And so Yaakov now reprimands them for that, and for the fact that they were the ones who threw their brother Yosef, into the pit, where had he been left there, he would have been dead. It was only because Yehudi came and said, what are we gaining by killing him? We'll sell him, that Yosef was ultimately saved. Now, there's something really interesting here, that Yaakov did not reprimand his sons at the time that they sold their at the time that they sold. I'm sorry, that Yaakov did not reprimand his sons Shimon and Levi when they killed down the city of Shechem. He asked them, "What are you doing? Why do you do this?" And they said, "What? We're going to let our sister just be violated?" And he was quiet. He didn't say anything, because at that time there was justification to what they did, and the justification was that there was a violation of the 7 Noahide laws, which one gets the death penalty for, because societies cannot survive with the violations of the 7 Noahide laws. And so Yaakov, their father, was quiet when he heard that. But over here, he comes and reprimands them. 1 second, was he okay with it or not? The reason why he wasn't okay with it was because he saw that later on, when they had an issue with their younger brother Yosef, they quickly threw him into a pit and were ready to kill him. And now Yaakov realized that what I suspected then is actually the case. My two boys, 2 and 3, they have an anger issue. And they got so angry, and he points out to Ba'apam in their anger. They wanted to kill. They actually killed. And his point was that from the fact that you did this to your brother Yosef, indicating that this was out of anger, this wasn't out of justice, that sheds light on your earlier behavior when you killed out the city of Shechem. Because clearly there also it wasn't out of justice, but it was out of anger. But 1 second, if their killing out the city of Shechem was justified, what's the problem? So they were angry, but they did the right thing. This is the point Yaakov is making, that when you do the right thing for the wrong reason, then the right thing is not done properly, and it actually has an impact on what you did. Yaakov was concerned about all the other nations are going to feel around them when the brothers just killed out the city of Shechem. Perhaps his fear was that when people are genuine to what they do, people read that and then it flows through. But when people do the right thing for the wrong reason, it creates a conflict, an incongruity, and that makes it much harder for people to accept, even though they're doing the right thing, because it doesn't smell right because it's being done for the wrong reason. I remember there was a gentleman that once came into our synagogue, and he got very upset because someone was praying the Shemona Esrei, the Amidah, a little bit loud. And when we say the Amidah, it's supposed to be said quietly so that no one else can hear you. So he was very upset, and he said in a very upset tone that you're not supposed to be saying that out loud. And I pointed out to him that if you were concerned about him so that he will pray properly, you wouldn't be upset. You would just go over to him and say, "Hey, I just want to let you know there's a law. You should try and keep it lower." But your yelling at him had nothing to do with the fact that he wasn't, praying in the appropriate manner. It was that you were upset by the disturbance you were feeling. That's that was your personal discomfort. And when you speak out of personal discomfort instead of out of care of another person, it smells that way. It doesn't smell right. Or like the well-known story with the Alter Rebbe, where he once was in the shul on the first night of Pesach, where we have a custom following the Alter Rebbe to recite Hallel at Ma'ariv after the Shemona Esrei. And the Ramah in Shulchan Aruch writes that one does not recite Hallel. There are different opinions. And so when he got up to recite Hallel, one of the members in the shul were very upset and went banging on the bima, on the table where we read from the Torah, and said, "What the Ramah writes that you're not supposed to say Hallel." And the Alter Rebbe said that when the Ramah wrote that, he didn't bang on the table. He was trying to bring out this point that there needs to be integrity with what we are championing. If you want to champion a cause, make sure you have integrity to it, because if you don't, it's going to taint what you're championing, because then becomes an agenda that one is driving. And this is really the message that the Alter Rebbe writes of in the earlier chapters of Tanya, which we are studying now, chapters 7, 8, where the Alter Rebbe writes about the idea that when a person engages with the world, with something which is permissible according to Jewish law, which means the Torah doesn't forbid us from engaging with this thing. For example, kosher food. You want to have a Danish, it's kosher, right? 100% kosher according to every standard. It's fine, right? So is it forbidden to eat this Danish? Absolutely not. You make a blessing and you eat it. Is it a mitzvah to eat the Danish? No, on an ordinary day, there's no mitzvah to eat a Danish, right? So it is what we would call a neutral affair. And in the legalities of Torah, where you have mitzvos, commandments, you have prohibitions, isurim, prohibitions, and then you have dvarim hamutar, matters which are permissible. So you can partake in that. However, from a spiritual point of view, which is deeper than a halachic point of view, the way we aspire to look at things is not whether I am obligated to do it or I'm forbidden from doing it. It's a question of, should I be doing this? All right? And how do you answer the question, should I be doing this? Is this what God wants me to do or not? Is this going to bring me closer to God or further from God? And in that, we don't have three categories. We only have two categories. Either it's for God or it's not. And if it's not for God, ultimately, even though it's permissible, and in the legalities of the Torah, there's nothing forbidden that the person is doing. But because the person is doing this matter for a self-interest and not for a divine interest, for a mission and purpose interest, that taints what they're doing and actually changes the energy lowers the energy of this thing that they're interacting with, indicating very clearly that our intentions in many, many situations has very big impact on our actions. And that's the reason why it is vitally important, as Hasidus encourages us to do, to develop midos tovos, to develop good character traits. And what are good character traits ultimately? Fundamentally, good character traits is a person who is becoming more God-oriented. I am more aware of Hashem than I was yesterday, and less self-oriented, which happens automatically. The more you become divine-oriented, the less self-oriented you become. The more self-oriented, the more self-oriented, the less divine-oriented. It's like a seesaw, exactly like that. And that is what a refined person with good character is, a person whose life is less about self and more about mission, purpose, and God. And this is the message Yaakov was giving his sons by reprimanding Shimon and Levi, that I see what actually caused you to kill out the city of Shechem, and that tainted what you did. We have to have better intentions when we do the right thing.